Senator Darren Bailey, thanks for being with us on the Illinois Channel again. Good to see you. And today is your first day after the announcement of your Lieutenant Governor candidate, Bailey-Trussell. How did you go about picking a running mate? What were some of the things you were looking for and considering when you looked to pick a running mate?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, a lot of prayer and fasting. We had several interviews we conducted, a lot of wonderful people out there, but at the end of the day, we knew that we needed to choose someone who aligned with our values, which is really contrary most of the time to a political movement, because a president or a governor will sometimes pick someone who maybe leans a little different than they do to attract a larger crowd. And our base, and I believe what Illinois needs, is moral integrity. And in order to do that, I love Illinois. My fight is for Illinois. And for me to pick someone who doesn't align with my values would literally go against everything that I stand for. So much interviews, much conversations, and Stephanie was the obvious pick.
You are from deep southern Illinois. Most of the voters in Illinois are in the Chicago and northern suburbs. How are you being received? How is your message going over with people that are not used to that southern twang? They maybe not have heard people being as conservative as you are in that area. How are you being received so far?
Well, we believe our reception in downtown Chicago and the collar counties in northern Illinois is beyond expectation. And the proof of that is on our Facebook page, Darren Bailey for Governor. I mean, when we show up to these events, many times the rooms are filled. People are, and most of the time I ask, who's first time here? And the word is getting out about this guy that's actually standing up for freedom, for what we believe in, and who's pushing back against the status quo. We're invited into a lot of churches on the south side and the west side, and that's where we've been the last several Sundays, and it's quite amazing. So, like I said, we have proof of that on our social media pages, and the simple proof of the polls that continue to come out that show us, increasingly leading.
When you hear the voters come up, as they did today, they talk to you. What are they voicing that are the things that are most of concern to them? Is it the social issues? Is it the economic issues? What's resonating?
Well, actually both. It's interesting because when this journey started, it started because our taxes were too high and people were moving out of the state and their gas tax was ridiculous and people were driving across state lines, and that frustration still exists. And then over the past year and a half, it became our schools as these liberal lawmakers begin to impose these egregious laws into our, like the SB 818, the sex education bill, the CRT. They're sick of that. They don't want it. Now all of a sudden, in the last several months, it's public safety. People are seeing the net result of what took place early this year in the legislature, and with pulling back and putting restraints on law enforcement. People don't feel safe. The people in Chicago are scared. They're scared. They're worried.
I won't keep you much longer. We just had a Republican elected in Virginia, which is now considered a blue state. CRT, the education, schools, was a major issue there. You were on the school board, I believe, for 12 years, so you're very familiar with being a school board member. To what extent are you hearing specifically from people who may have been either independent voters or Democratic voters who are coming up and saying because of things like CRT, because of this sex education that the legislature just passed for grade school kids, are they coming up and saying to you that they've had enough?
They are, and because of me, I served for 17 years on the school board, the last 12 of those as board president, and I've been challenging all of these local units of body, these school boards, 7-member boards, to stand their ground. The buck stops with them. They're the ones who are responsible for whatever it is that the community wants to take place or not to take place in their schools. So yes, people can, I always say, follow the money here in Springfield. You want to know why someone's voting the way they are, if they've kind of fallen off the wagon, you follow the money. And likewise with us, when you look at many of our donors, you're seeing them almost daily. There's a Democrat or an independent voter across the state that's joining our movement. Absolutely. There are people here today that have never been to a political event before. They're coming out because they sense there's hope for change.
One last thing, you're getting your name out there. A lot of people haven't heard of Darren Bailey before. Just give us a thumbnail sketch. Who are you? What's your background? What did you do besides being in politics?
I appreciate that. I'm a husband for 35 years. I'm a father of 4. I'm a grandfather of 11. Farmed all of my life. I want to live free. I want to be left alone. I don't want to be burdened by heavy tax and regulations, yet all that's here. So several years ago, I got vocal about the tax increases. I was elected as a state rep of the 109th district. My state senator stepped down. The people around the area encouraged me to run for that position. I did, fully anticipating that I was just going to term limit myself for 10 years. I don't participate in the legislative pension, and I just thought I'd do my duty and then go back to the farm. But unfortunately, I was one of in the freshman class of was Gov Pritzker came in, and this new thing called the super minority with Republicans, that we don't have a voice. So I've been very bold in speaking up and speaking against what's taking place in the Capitol today, even sometimes against my own my own party. People respect that. They appreciate the vote or the voice, and I think that's ultimately what's getting our recognition and appreciation to grow.
Senator Bailey, thanks for joining us. Hopefully we can do a sit down with you and talk at a longer time next time.
Love it. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Stephanie Trussell, good to see you. Thanks for being on the Illinois Channel again. And now, as we're talking to you, it is not as a conservative radio host, but you are the lieutenant governor candidate running with Senator Darren Bailey. How did you happen to first hear about being selected, or what process was that, and what was your decision to go ahead and become a candidate for lieutenant governor?
Well, in full disclosure, a dear mutual friend of ours called me and said the Baileys are going to be in Chicagoland area in a couple of days. I told them that you would make a great candidate for lieutenant governor. They should talk to you. I said something quirky for a couple seconds, and then I was very excited about the process. So I went downtown with my husband. We had an hour and 45-minute meeting with the Baileys, and I just drove home thinking, wow, everything I've heard about them is true. People talk about their hearts and their commitment. They were the real thing, and I kept thinking, if they don't pick me, I just want to be part of this team. And every time I had any opportunity to interact with them, I was more and more drawn in. It was no question when they finally came down and made me the offer, I was all in. I had to be on this team. It's great. And I had said to them repeatedly, if you go with someone else, I just want you to pick the best candidate that's going to help you to win. But I was going to volunteer. I was going to promote him. And I was all in for Team Bailey.
As you mentioned in your speech, when you were announced yesterday, you grew up on the west side of Chicago. You've been in Lisle and DuPage County now for a number of years. Knowing the area, and both the Chicagoland area, the suburbs, Senator Bailey is from deep, deep southern Illinois. Can he win the votes in the north of I-80? Because a lot of people think, that maybe he won't play well just from a cultural standpoint.
We are all one great state. It's a long state, and it's a different state. Collar counties are very different from what's happening down here in southern Illinois. Of course he can win because something happened. That's the pandemic. And we can unite on what we agree on. No one wants the state to be shut down again. No one wants first graders not to know what their teacher looks like because they're wearing a mask. When the shutdown happened and Pritzker got to decide what was essential and what wasn't. So liquor stores, abortion clinic, pot stores were all essential. Mom and pop establishments that third, fourth generation suddenly were not essential, or certain jobs weren't essential. And I say every job is essential because it's paying somebody's rent or their mortgage or feeding their kids. How dare you? So I know that Darren Bailey can unite the suburban people, the Chicago people, the forgotten people. I think at this point it's very obvious in Chicago that the Democrat Party, who's been running Chicago since the 30s, has completely forgotten about the neighborhood where I grew up in the South Side. And it's time for us to say, look what we have for you. This is what we have to offer. We want to appeal to everyone. We want to make sure everyone is able to thrive because there's so many resources in Illinois. It's a great place to live, and it's so sad that people cannot wait to get out of here. A lot of people are counting those days until their last kid graduates, and they're out of here. And I'm thinking, no, give us a chance. Don't sell your house yet. This is a phenomenal state. I grew up on the west side, so I have that city thing. I fled to Phoenix for 2 years and came right back. I'm here to fight for my state, and I'm that suburban housewife that drove around for 20 years in a minivan, and now I got downgraded to an SUV because there's only me and my granddaughter. But I can appeal to those people. Those people want their kids to be They want to have an influence on what's happening with their kids. Between the parental notification being repealed, I can't send my kid to school with amoxicillin or an aspirin, but my kid could go out underage and get an abortion, which is a very dangerous procedure, even for the person getting the abortion. What they want to teach our kids in sex ed is pornographic. It's horrible. I can't understand why the left is hunting our children. Why are they trying to steal their innocence? And that's what I think everybody can agree on. Democrats, Republican, progressive. They want to be parents that want to protect their kids. As we know, the world's an ugly place, but at 6, at 5, they don't need to hear some of the things that they're making part of our curriculum. And I know Darren Bailey can communicate that to him. I grew up in Chicago. That's the first thing I said to him. I thought I blew the interview. When I heard him talk, I said, I love your accent. It blows me away that people in my state talk like that. And to me, I find that endearing. I just find that trustworthy. It's just regular people like Darren Bailey who own a farm. They can't count the days until their kids graduate and roll up their farm and move to Indiana or Tennessee or Florida. They want to stay here and fight for our state. And I just want to be part of the reason that they have hope that, you know what, we're going to make some real changes in Springfield.
Just one last question. I know, when I look at the election in Virginia, where a Republican was elected and beat a former Democratic governor, one of the leaders in that campaign, a volunteer, was a woman who said, I'm a liberal, but I'm just opposed to this critical race theory being taught, the sex ed, and it was that explosion. For a Republican, especially a conservative, to be elected statewide, I think you would have to have that kind of a rebellion within the independent voters and some of the Democratic voters. Do you have any sense, both from you live in the area in this DuPage County, which over the last 20 years has become more Democratic?
It used to be this deep red county, and then all of a sudden I'm living in this Purpleville. But I
is there any reason to think that there could be a revolution in 2022?
Well, as you said, the East Coast has inspired me. I know it could happen even here. And as a minivan driving SUV mom in the suburbs, I know that we can appeal to those people. Again, they are, I think about the average maybe white liberal, or I shouldn't say liberal Democrat, that is going along with their philosophy, but now they're being told that your kids should feel guilty or feel wrong because they happen to be born white. A 5-year-old kid is being told that your race is the oppressor and blacks or Hispanics are the oppressed. I think people are standing up and saying, wait, I'm not a racist. What are you saying? And they want kids to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic, all this social agenda stuff that they're aggressively pushing on our children. I think we can be united in that. If you can look at the test scores, in some of these major school districts where everybody moved to because the scores were so phenomenal, those scores are dropping because they're spending more time teaching about pronouns and social justice and less time teaching about the basics. I know we can appeal to people, common sense people that just really are just tired of saying there's nothing we can do about Illinois. Well, not if we sit around and do nothing and don't vote for different people. I know we can change this state. There's no doubt in my mind.
Well, at another time we can sit down maybe and do it more in depth. But thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. And while you're at it, please leave us a comment. Thank you for watching.